touch, it means so much to bring our faith into this reality. We set each other free. Welcome, everybody, to the Eagle's Nest podcast. It is June 5th, 2022. We're filming live from the San Luis Valley, just south of Crestone, Colorado, just south of Blanca Peak, just south of the Great Sand Dunes. This is the UFO Superhighway of America. It's a gem. If you don't know about the San Luis Valley, check it out. And if you don't know about Blanca Peak, Crestone, check it out. But this may be one of the last few shows of us filming from this area. We sounds like we're going to be relocating headquarters. Don't know where that's going to be yet. A couple of exciting places on the list, but yeah, we're going to let you know just as soon as we go into relocation mode of where Sacred Journeys Within Eagle's Nest is going to land. And exciting times. And yeah, that's what's going on in our personal life here at the homestead, at the church. Just finishing up a retreat over the last couple of days. Had a few guys out, and we hiked with Wachuma, and we sat with Changa, smokable form of ayahuasca, and we also had one of them had a combo ceremony. So we had a jam packed couple days retreat starting on Thursday. Just ended today. Just had our last guest leave this morning. So he's probably listening right now. Shout out to you, brother, if you hear me. And thank you for showing up for yourself. Thank you for showing up for the medicine and everything the way you did. And so that's what's been going on here. We got booking more guests for the podcast as well. I'm doing that in the background, being a dad as well, and husband, take care of the farm, take care of the horses. Yeah, being pretty busy these days. It's all good though. Good things, really exciting. So we got an exciting guest on here with us tonight, Jason Quitt. He is an Egyptian extraordinaire. He's an author. Postures of the Egyptian. He's going to tell the exact title when he gets on. It's an interesting book. Definitely hits deep in my heart, as you all know. If you're listening to this, you know where I'm at on the Egyptian side. And to top it off, he is into shamanism, working with South American medicines, mainly ayahuasca and San Pedro. Wow. So this has been a meeting that's been in the works for a long time, and I just can't wait to get him in here in just a moment. Want to give a shout out to River Moon Coffee for helping us out. And yeah, you can check us out over. Let's see. I'm gonna do some real quick. Go over to sacredjourneyswithin.com right there, and there's a banner for River Moon Coffee. You can get 20% off your first order. If you go over check out sacredjourneyswithin.com and get your first order of River Moon Coffee and get a little promo code there. So coming up, let's see who we've had. Laura Eisenhower on the past, Grant Cameron. If you haven't seen the past episodes, go and check them out. Give them a like if you haven't, and tell your friends about it. We're trying to build the channel up, trying to get monetized so we can get some money going back into this. It does take a little bit of scratch to keep this going, so it'd be nice to have some money keep going in the background from YouTube. So if we can get YouTube to pay us a little bit of money, help us out, help us get up over 1,000 subscribers, that'd be amazing. You can also check out over at Sacred Journeys Within, check out both my first and second book. My first book, I'm Perfect and So Are You, and my second book, Find Your Inner Guru. You can check them out over at Sacred Journeys Within, order them from there, and you will get autographed copies sent to your doorstep, or you can order from Amazon. And you can order them the digital form from Amazon as well. They're available there, and a few bookstores scattered out throughout the Colorado, southern Colorado area. And let's see, coming up, we got Kevin Day coming up, and then I think Kevin Day's next. Then we got Ruben Langdon. Kevin Day is a radar operator. He was um, on duty on the USS Princeton during the Nimitz incident. So he was tracking them on the radar, and we're going to get the story straight from his mouth. He's been involved in recent documentary that just came out, "Terror in the Sky." We're going to talk about that, and we're gonna get into who Kevin is. You know, just like we do every guest, we're going to just try to find out who they are as a person. You know, where they at. And yeah, looking forward to that conversation. Good friend Ruben Langdon's coming on. He was a stunt double for Jake in the first Avatar movie, and he's also host and creator of interviews with extra dimensionals on I think now it's on the Gaia platform, and you can find it on other platforms. In a nutshell, not just getting in, I don't want to get too much into it. I want to save it for the show, but he interviews people that channel higher dimensional beings, extraterrestrial beings, and yeah, and videotapes it. So it's essentially kind of like you're getting a raw channeling in real time. So this guy, very interesting guy, a good friend of mine. He's another person that we're going to be talking about ayahuasca when he comes on. He experienced ayahuasca, and yeah, it seems like this medicine, just connects a lot of people. And I'm glad. I'm so honored that the universe has brought Jason into to Eagles Nest podcast tonight, and really looking forward to this conversation. So, without further ado, I am about to bring my good friend, my friend, Jason Quitt, my medicine brother from another mother I've never met, onto the show. Welcome to Eagles Nest podcast, Jason.
Thank you for having me. And yeah, it's been a long time coming to be here with you. So that's awesome.
Yeah, man. It's I'm excited about the conversation. So, what what is what's Jason's day to day? What is Jason, without giving away too many details of your personal life or being uncomfortable, like what do you do for fun?
Uh, well, um, what do I do for fun? Well, I would say recently, since we've been under lockdown for a while, I've been writing a lot. I enjoy writing and researching. And but recently, because the weather is so nice and there's not that many mosquitoes out now, I've been out in nature, walking around and just being away from the computer, which is um, I found harder to do. We get so involved with what's going on online, and sitting and researching, you're sitting behind a computer. It's really great to just disconnect and get back out into nature. I have a beautiful lake behind me, so every single day we walk around the lake and just be with the trees, be with the water, and that is literally where my mind is right now. I'm doing a lot of introspection, meditation, and just thinking about all the things that we've done over the past many years in this community, what we've brought forward, and trying to integrate all that information. And the mystery is still the mystery, as we were speaking
It's
earlier about it.
it,
Yeah.
it's always going to be the mystery, man. And yeah, it's funny, the synchronicities. I was just speaking to someone about this actually today, and I was just talking about how, just for instance, the Phoenix Lights. When the governor of Arizona brung out the guy in the alien costume,
Yeah.
and now we have the federal government making public hearings and saying flat out, we've known about him, we've been studying for this long. And what really gets me, man, like there's been a lot of people that's died over this. Like there's like, and I'm not talking like, being, the hits or whatever like that from conspiracy. I'm talking about the people that's died from depression because they've been ostracized by their family and friends and their public because they had an experience. And this could there's a lot of pain and suffering that could have been avoided, if the government would have come forward and been truthful a long time ago. That's what really upsets me.
especially in families or communities that are highly religious, or even academic circles. You come forward with an experience and you're automatically labeled as possibly schizophrenic or delusional or just attention seeking. Um, and it's very, very hurtful. And many people's families turn against them. They lose friendships, they lose job employment. Um, so it's a real hit. And, if you're experiencing something that for you is 100% legitimately real experience, um, sometimes it's extremely hard to translate that experience to others. And sometimes that experience is so profound that there is no explanation that you can verbally tell somebody what that experience was like. And if you're not ready for those type of experiences, it could also have mental health consequences for you.
Yeah, I mean yeah, it's just an amazing time we're in, but it's also a very sobering time because there has been so, I mean, and researchers, that has really went out on a limb. And I'm not talking about myself at all. I'm talking about people, that's been doing this for 10, 20 years, and they were coming out a long time before it was popular, and I had I had my experience after ayahuasca, so ayahuasca kind of opened the doorway for all these other experiences to happen. So definitely the UFO thing wasn't in my realm until after ayahuasca opened me up and started showing me, there was a greater reality. And we definitely will get into that later. We're gonna bookshelf ayahuasca right now, but we will definitely probably take on that in the second half of this. Um, get a little housekeeping out of the way. We got to talk about the UFO hearing. Like we started to touch on it a little bit there, or at least I did. What's your thoughts, Jason? From Jason Quitt, the expert. Like, what are your thoughts on the UFO hearing?
Um, it was, uh, I didn't think there was anything really in it. And I think they got the wrong people to speak about that. Um, but, it is keeping the narrative alive in the mainstream, which I would say is positive. A lot of interesting things came up, but it seemed like they really didn't know too much about it, or they pretended they didn't know too much about it, and they'll look into it. And I always joke about if the government could raise money or get money for something, they'll go for it. And now they've figured out a way to raise money for disclosure, so they're pushing for it. They're going to get money for specific things, specific programs now, because now they are looking into it. So now money is flowing. Um, but I would say any researcher that has spent time going through this, there is no conclusive, here it is. The only conclusion that the researchers will get is there is a phenomenon. It's older than a military aircraft. It seems to be side to side with human evolution or human thought, um, going back from the beginning. So there is some type of phenomenon, there's some type of force here on Earth. Um, my personal opinion is that the Earth um, has many layers, and when I say layers, dimensional realities, and that these beings or lights in the sky, orbs, um, they could momentarily step through into our physical world, or our perception can be widened to see into those dimensional fields and catch a glimpse of what's behind the curtain. So many people, like you said, you had an ayahuasca experience and you saw something. So the veil has been widened. So for me, I think the word alien itself, people denote like, okay, that's from another planet, which it could be. But I think the real explanation is far more interesting, or could be far more interesting than just an alien from another planet.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a subscriber to the interdimensional, multidimensional, bilocated reality theory. That's in a nutshell. That's where I'm at as far as I see things. Um, yeah, definitely. Near deaths. That's a part of my journey. Yeah, and memories of Egypt. So that brings me to I got to talk about this book. I haven't got it yet. I can't wait. I can't wait to get into it because I'm sure there's going to be something in there that's going to raise a hair on the back of my head.
You're talking about this one?
That one,
All right.
the one you just re-release.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Egyptian postures of power, mysticism, movements, and meditations. Yeah. And
Yeah, let's hear about it,
well,
man. Like, what is it?
okay, where do I start? Well, I would say that growing up, I had my spiritual psychic experiences with the phenomenon, but it wasn't really until my early 20s that things really skyrocketed into this. And my experiences didn't come from ceremonies. It didn't come from taking any plant medicines. So I came from a different side of things, just a straight awakening that I had no idea would even happen. And it was through that awakening that I started to be taken on journeys out of body. I started to meet different beings, receive different messages. And that's actually how I got tied in with the UFO community, because it was in these out of body experiences and these spiritual experiences that I witnessed certain beings that were classically described in the contact or abduction experiences. But for me, it was more of a shamanic journey type of thing. And I did not see them as space aliens. I saw them as these beings on the other side of that veil. And it's like you couldn't see them with your eyes, but the moment I stepped out of the body, they're standing in the room. So I knew that this was in another dimension, another world. And when I started to just describe those experiences, that's when the whole UFO thing got tied into it, even though originally I was merely pointing out that they were part of this kind of shamanic journey to this other side, this other world. But in those journeys, it's very strange, because you have the out of body experiences, or near death experience, and sometimes you're taken into past lives or future lives, or you're taken into I like to call them astral schools, where you're being taught certain things. And Egypt was a theme at the beginning of these journeys, and I had nothing to do with Egypt. I didn't know a thing except from the museum and the books from growing up. I didn't know. It just wasn't in my interest to Egypt. But then suddenly, all these memories and teachings came back to me, where it was almost like I had these extra memories that just manifested within me, that I could remember certain things. and that I was taken on journeys, taught certain meditations. And this is where the Egyptian postures of power came from, is that, and this is one of the most profound experiences I had still to this day, is I was taken out of my body at night and I found myself in this temple. There was this Egyptian standing in front of me. This Egyptian didn't speak, didn't do or say anything except stand in a posture and just kind of stare at me, look right at me. And intuitively, I knew that I had to copy the posture that this person was standing in. So as I got my body positioned into that posture, I felt um, I felt something open up above my head, and it felt like I just stood under a waterfall. And you know, like a waterfall with the water, it's like pounding right on the top of your head. But this wasn't water. It was like the only way I could describe it is like a solar waterfall, and I could feel these heat molecules. It's hard to describe it, but it just poured from the crown above the head right through every cell of the body. And the vibration of it was so profound and powerful that my body was physically shaking, like literally shaking. And when I woke up from that experience in my bed, my physical body was actually in the position that was in the journey. So even my left foot was sticking up in the air and my arm was in the position in the bed, like
It's
the stat,
amazing, man.
and my whole body is vibrating, shaking, and I'm still receiving this waterfall of things. How do I describe it?
It's amazing.
And the moment I changed my posture, um, it was like a switch just turned off, and it was such a profound experience because of the feeling of what was actually happening in my body in that posture, that I knew that this was very important. So I started to document these journeys, but not only just document them. Um, I was kind of given like one of these cosmic hints. You know what I mean? You're given like a little piece of information, and then I went to the libraries back when you had to photocopy stuff. This was early 2000s, and I would open Egyptian books and look at these statues, and these statues are all standing in very peculiar postures. And when you do a little research on the postures, no one really knows the purpose of them, but they know that it had some type of religious or spiritual significance. And the most famous one that archaeologists talk about is when Osiris died, and you have Isis standing there with their hands like this, in front of her face, and they say, well, that's Isis mourning. She's crying, she's mourning, she's shedding tears for the death of her husband Osiris. So it's like this kind of posture is the supposed prayer of mourning, is what the archaeologists say. But there's hundreds of these postures, but the meaning is kind of lost over these thousands of years. And because I studied Qi Gong, which is the Chinese system of postures and movements, it was so clear that this was the same thing, that the Chinese system of Qigong and Tai Chi uh, was the exact same type of philosophy as these postures in Egypt, that they were somehow channeling energy from their environment.
It, I
Yeah,
got to stop you for a second. This
go
stuff
ahead.
is it's blowing my mind.
Okay.
It's blowing my mind. Not so much what you've been through, but that it's been this long for us to talk. because because I mean I've had the shaking. I've been really sensitive to the sun before, like and you know, violently shook from the sun at times. Just spirit, just just out of nowhere, and yeah, the connection. So the connection to Osiris and everything. That was my first channeling was Osiris. I did a spontaneous channeling, not on medicine. We were traveling, me and my wife, and we had just swapped, and she started driving, and I'd sat in the passenger seat, and trying to fall asleep, I just slipped into a meditation, and at first I was a Wachuma cactus, and these people are praying to me and chopped off one of my pieces and started processing everything. But then I started channeling Osiris. This whole recording, my wife ended up recording it. She got her phone out and hit the record button a few minutes into it. Yeah, my buddy owns a studio, like he own, he like puts together music. He has the recording right now, and he's cleaning up all the background noise. We're gonna put subtitles to it, and I'm gonna be releasing it within the next week or two on my YouTube channel. It's
Nice.
I come to find out just recent. So this is back in like uh, 2018 or 19 when this happened. I lost the recording. Lost the phone that was in. I had just found the phone just a few weeks ago, and man, I thought I lost this recording forever. Part of it's in the first book, and yeah, it's just trippy, man, because I just read the Emerald Tablets for the first time ever just a few weeks ago. After having Billy on, I was like, man, this Emerald Tablets is something I probably need to look into. I The channeling from Osiris was part of the Emerald Tablets was channeled through when Osiris spoke part of the Emerald Tablets when in the channeling that's in the recording. It's gonna be interesting when I release it, man. I can't wait.
Well, you better send me a link.
Yeah, man, for sure.
And I just want to kind of rewind a second, okay? You said you were you channeling you became the plant first, or Osiris became the plant, and that's when you channeled it.
Well,
Am
the
I?
first I slipped into a meditation and I went out of body, and I all of a sudden I saw myself as this Wachuma plant. And
Yeah.
this is after I've got the I had just got the altar actually from my teacher Renato. So it was shortly after that, but I was in this meditation. I slipped into it, and I was the plant, and
Okay.
I there was crystals all around me that people come up and like, and yeah, it was wild. I felt a hummingbird that was feeding off a flower on the top of my head, like, but I felt it in my physical body.
Okay. The reason I'm asking this is because not a lot of people know this about Osiris. Um, they take Osiris and they kind of stick him in this kind of like godlike body. But originally, Osiris was the god of vegetation. So he's like the original green man, and he was the tree, the sacred tree, the sacred plant, the sacred medicine. And to consume his body, you would become Osiris, and to become awakened, you would become the child Horus, the light, the awakened one from the dead body, right? So it's like by taking, and that's one of the whole points of these ancient, secret rituals is, you need to awaken the Horus, the light within you, the child within you, the new regenerated, resurrected life from the dead body, which is your physical body. You're literally dead, walking around, not being awakened.
Man, I haven't this happened without any planning on this as far
Yeah.
as Osiris and everything. And you don't know me that well, Jason, but I just had a son born on 1/11 of this year. His original due date was 4/4. He was born early, so he was born on 1/1, January 11th.
Mhm.
And we named him Hawk because of my Native American connection to the eagle. Like, I'm a sun dancer and pipe carrier as well, on top of working with Wachuma and ayahuasca. So yeah, we named him Hawk for that, and then it hit me afterwards that it might have some connection back to Osiris, and it did, and then just a lot of weird circumstances, and we're in a very amazing time in our lives right now, and it's it's just crazy.
And nothing is a coincidence. And
No.
it's well, I don't know you that well, but like when it comes to ayahuasca and these rituals, the whole point is the vine. It's the vine of the dead. You slip into what we call the underworld, which are the unconscious, the dark, which is the womb of creation, the cave, your cave. And so it's almost like you're taking on that archetype of you're going to show the way of the womb of the darkness, of where the wound starts. That this is
Yeah.
where all healing comes from, is this
Be,
womb.
before we
Yeah.
before we move into this, I want to and move away from the phenomenon, because the
Okay.
phenomenon is the whole thing, anyways. What is, or my at least my what is your definition of the phenomenon? Like a short definition.
Um, the phenomenon is we live in an absolutely spiritual world, multidimensional world that is eternal and vast, and we're really the phenomenon because we forgot our place in it, and now we're trying to figure out, wait, we're totally ignorant and blind to a greater reality, and our journey as a spiritual being is the returning to that order, returning to that phenomenon. So it turns out the phenomenon is us, and we're in the process of discovering that.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. So let's move on to ayahuasca. We can't hold off any longer. It's like the
All
it's
right.
like the it's like the grandma in the room that is gonna demand her attention right now. It seems like. So let's start off from the beginning.
Yeah.
How did ayahuasca? When did the seed plant? When's the first time you ever heard the word ayahuasca?
Um, all right. Well, originally, see, like I said, I came into this without any plant medicines. So I started to have all these experiences, and someone told me to look into Terence McKenna. So they said, "Oh, your experiences, what you're talking about, it reminds me of Terence McKenna. You should pick up his books." So I got his books, and he started to speak about, his journeys, finding magic mushrooms, ayahuasca, all these things, and talking about how it is a doorway per se to those other worlds. They're sacred plant teachers. They're like the archaic shamans that guide you. And at that time, I was very into that because, so without doing any of those things, I was much doing it anyways astrally. And I initially thought that instead of randomly leaving my body or randomly having spiritual experiences, by taking these plant teachers, I could plan my spiritual experiences. That was my original thinking.
How'd that plan go?
These teachers, they're tough teachers because they
Yeah.
never give you what you want ever. It's always what they are willing to show you at the time. So this was kind of a letdown for me that in a sense, you couldn't really control the spiritual process, that it was somehow not up to you and things would happen on their own. I found, I would say, 9 times out of 10 or 9.5 times out of 10, the most profound experiences I've had were without anything, right?
I
And you
agree.
can't compare them. They're very different experiences.
Mm.
but it was through Terence McKenna that I started to go down that shamanic path that um, led me to shamanism as well. And I became friends with a number of medicine people because I live in Canada, and in Ontario here, there's the Algonquins, and I started to become very close with people from the Algonquin tribe, the Bear Clan, and through their teachings, which I went through quite a lot. I always say I'm a student of shamanism because there is no end in sight ever.
Yeah.
You don't go out and say I'm a medicine man or shaman. It's just you're always this student. But it led me on a journey to Peru. I wanted to go to Peru, and there was people in Toronto that said, "Yeah, come over. We'll drink ayahuasca." And I was like, "There's no way I'm doing that in those settings. I want to go down to the jungle. I want to be with the shamans and do the ceremony from the same way the ancestors have done for thousands of years." That was in my being. I
And
had to do that.
what year was this? Your first cup?
2000, 2005. Yeah, 2005. Quite a little whiles ago.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was in Baghdad at the moment,
Yeah,
in 2005. Much different life than I am living now, for sure.
for sure. And so that was my first time experiencing it. And I had all these preconceived notions or preconceived ideas of what would happen because I was so I would say at that time I was very versed in out of body travel. I was very versed in speaking with beings, and I thought that this would just be an extension of that.
Now, were you into meditation? Like, did you know about your breath yet, or and that stuff going
I
in?
In Qi Gong, yes, in Qi Gong, and I did more Qi Gong back then than meditation, but it was it's a form of meditation.
Sure.
I went more into breath work and meditation after 2017.
Yeah, we hold retreats pretty often, and we definitely see the people that have never done medicine before. If they understand their breath coming in, it makes a world of difference. It takes half they're already halfway there, because the breath is huge. As you know, like in the ceremony, the breath is huge part of it. Sorry, go on.
Oh,
Sorry,
no,
sorry.
but I would completely agree. The breath is profound in all experiences, and that's the way to control the experiences through the breath. Um, well, there really is no control, but it helps guide the experience. Um, so, um, so I thought I knew what I was getting myself into, and when I went on that experience, it was very different than what I thought. It wasn't what I perceived at all, and I did it to the T, as in like I fasted for like 2 days before. I didn't eat meat or just fasted, drank water, and you chew the coca plant. So I'm chewing the coca plant for like 2 days, fasting, drinking water, just preparing the body. And then I did the ayahuasca, and it was just like everything became light. That's all I can say. It's like I closed my eyes and it was like it was brighter inside my body than being out in the sun.
I get
We
it.
did it at night, right? So it's just,
Yes.
and then when you open your eyes, everything has this luminescence to it. So everything was alive with this light, and you can see the auras, you can see different things around, which is talked about in psychedelic experiences. But the thing that really got me about ayahuasca
Here's
is,
here's my here's my wife chiming in.
yeah, exactly. The thing that I wasn't expecting with ayahuasca is that it was a purger, as in I could feel it going through every system of my body. So I was very highly tuned to where the ayahuasca was looking in my body. So the ayahuasca was alive. It's kind of like a snake, like the vine.
Yeah.
and it sees things. So it's going through your body, and I can feel it. Oh, it's in this organ. Oh, it's going down here. It's going down there. And not only, of course, you throw up originally, which is also very strange because the ayahuasca is like a shot glass, right?
Yeah.
And this is my first experience. So you take it, and I was fasting for days, and when I threw up, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, it was like I filled a bucket with this stuff. I'm like, what the hell is that? It's like, where did this come from? It looked like it didn't look like anything I could be aware of that came out of my body,
Yeah.
and so much of it. So, but you know, the worst part of it, and I will tell your audience this because they should know, I should be warned, is that I could feel it going down through my intestines, and then it hit the lower intestine, and I go, oh. And I literally spent like 2 days in the washroom. I couldn't get off the toilet. So it was like the biggest purging of my life. It was like it cleaned me out. I was a completely different person afterwards. And the effect of the ayahuasca, which it's very strange because not only did it rewire my brain, it sensitized me a whole lot more to things. So when I came back to Canada, this is around the time um, where they just started getting coffee into McDonald's, right? So that I'm standing and waiting for a friend downtown Toronto, and McDonald's is saying, here's some free coffee, come in and try it. And I took like a little sip of coffee, and I felt the caffeine go through my body like ants through my veins. And I was like, I almost went back to this ayahuasca moment where suddenly my vision started to change to the other world. And I'm feeling these like things crawling through my body. I'm like, man, this coffee is a freaking drug. Like, how do people drink this drug? It's crazy. So it just kind of opened this
Yeah.
thing in me.
I don't know, man. It's crazy.
I know. Well, River Moon Coffee, right? Like I was doing the same. See, check out my coffee cup here. Isn't that cool?
Nice.
You know.
Oh yeah, man. Is that the there's another title about something about the sun. What is that?
Oh, this is the. You're talking about the Aten?
No, it's something. Man, you were doing back when you were doing conferences. It's something about the sun that you have.
Salute to the sun.
Yeah, something about that, man. It's
Okay.
Anyways, we'll get into that in a little bit, but yeah, let's keep going. I
Okay.
want to hear.
So that's like the beginning of learning about plant medicines, and so I didn't have that kind of breakthrough experience that many people talk about. Um, and when I did have those breakthrough experiences, um, that was the only thing that I could describe as related to spiritual experiences, where you wake up in other dimensions, you may come in contact with certain things, or you are different things, if that makes sense. You become something else, and you're in another world, and you realize that you're not just human, you're also something else. So
Yeah.
and this is the tough thing of describing, especially when it comes to plant medicines.
So when did you find out you were something else? Like
Um,
when did it hit you that you were not only Jason, but like you're definitely something else in this lifetime, like
um, I'll just say that the plant, I don't can't give the exact date. I don't remember. It was very early on, in my early 20s, but it was after a plant ceremony that I went to sleep. Okay, so I had the experience of, the plant is still in my body, I guess, and then I went to sleep. And the moment I went to sleep, I woke up as uh, see, it's so hard to explain. The only way I could describe it was I was a globulous, glowing amoeba, giant amoeba in the sky. It wasn't this world. The sky was like I can't even describe the color. It's not the color of a sky. It's like a purplish orange sky. And I was over this forest, and there was other of these amoeba like flying translucent light creatures in the sky. And it was like we were kind of dancing over this forest, and there was these, see how weird this is? It's like describing,
It's all good.
it's, and then there's these like electric translucent snakes type of thing that would just kind of wrap around you, and it was almost like we were all dancing in the sky. And it's like I stayed there all night. So it's like from the moment I closed my eyes, I was above this forest as this amoeba. I knew it was me. It's just in a different form or a different life or a different dimension. And there was so much joy and happiness. It was like we were all just enjoying this moment. And then I woke back up in my body. I'm like, man, that was like, the first time of I would call it that type of breakthrough experience where it was not human. It was nothing that I would know about before. And how do you explain that to people?
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Which you ain't gotta apologize, man. We just got done with post integration ceremony, the post ceremony integration. So I've been hearing stories like this all over the past couple days. It's kind of been the same vibe. But yeah, it's hard to articulate it, especially some of these things there's no words for it, that there's, like you said, like the colors. People that haven't had these experiences, they don't understand there's colors that exist that we don't get to see in this world, and it's hard to put a name on it when there's no consensus on that color, like, but so I totally get it. So
And
that was so that was your first go around with ayahuasca. Like, when did she come back into your life again?
um, well, from I don't know how much details I want to give online, um, because uh, I'll just I'll just say that I've had experiences with many different plants teachers, and I would say that the ones that were for me would be magic mushroom ceremonies, um, cannabis. Those ones would be for me something that opened something,
Yeah,
where I actually felt something deep and lasting, with those
yeah,
with those. And I've been on a search trying to figure all this out since then. And I truly believe that as a human being living on Earth, there are certain plants that are here for us. There's certain plants that have a symbiotic relationship with our growth and development as a species. And I can just say, if you look at cannabis, for example, we have the endocannabinoid system of the body. Our immune cells have receptors to receive it. Our brains have receptors. Our organs, our skin has receptors to receive cannabinoids, and it comes from the cannabis plant, obviously. And it seems like we were made to accept these type of things. What's very interesting is that it's called sea squirts. Have you heard of sea squirts?
I have not.
Okay, it's one of the most ancient invertebrates on planet Earth, and it lives in the sea. It's a little sea creature.
Sea squirts, huh?
Sea squirts. They
Nice.
are one of the oldest species on the planet that we know of, that has developed their endocannabinoid system, which is 600 million years old. Okay.
Wow.
And, if you believe in evolution, which, I believe that as species evolve, it's actually we take on systems from other evolved creatures. So we're like a mix. Our body is a mix of things that work. Okay. So the endocannabinoid system in a sea squirt that's been developed for 600 million years, we have the same receptors that they do in our bodies. Okay. So when we're connecting to a plant medicine, for example, and we take on, let's say, like cannabinoids from cannabis, when that enters and activates our cells, um, we're tapping into a system that is so ancient on our planet, more than 600 million years old, that it is taking us out of our current normal reality, and it's pulling us into this archaic energy body mind that has been developed over millions and millions of years. And that's what I believe when I was doing the mushroom ceremonies, that's what the mushrooms really spoke to me about, was about this kind of archaic mind that before we were human, or what we would consider to be human, the mind, the basic mind of who we are, um, was the mind, or shared a mind like these plants, like these medicines. So as we connect with these medicines or teachers, it's almost like we're connecting to a part of ourselves that is so ancient that we have totally forgot about, totally forgot about. And this is where it gets into the whole thing where, is it the ayahuasca? Is it the mushrooms? Is it the cannabis that's doing it to us? They're just keys. Literally, they're just keys. It's the body has the infrastructure. The body has the systems, the
I
receptors to take these things.
I explain it through explain it through Tesla's eyes, frequency of vibration. I explain, people ask me, in when you get down to the basis of the medicines, what are these medicines? They're I believe they're vibratory tools that are designed to raise us up to a vibration so we can cross over into other dimensional fields out of this 3D denseness. What is what is your definition of ayahuasca? Like what is ayahuasca to you?
Hmm. Ayahuasca, to me, is a reset. It is signaling to the body. Uh, I'll use the word Pachamama, that you are literally going back into the womb or the arms of Pachamama, which is the original blueprint of mankind. And this is why it's called the vine of the dead, in my opinion, is that we basically have to die, as in death of an ego, death of the programs that we've been carrying that are not true to who we are. So by releasing and purging that which we carry that is not of value or truth to us anymore, we're getting a reset from these plants. And and I remember, when I was in the rainforest, when I was in Peru, it was very important when we took it. We had to have our spine touching the earth. We had to lay on the ground of the forest, and we weren't allowed to get up, because it was a realignment with you and the earth. And what I remembered from that experience was, you were talking about the rivers earlier, was that I saw myself kind of dissolve into the earth. Like there was no separation between me and the ground.
Mhm.
And
Beautiful.
I saw my, the veins in my body as the waterways of the earth, and I knew that. And maybe you understand what I'm saying because you've done this many times too. There's a point in the experience that comes to me every single time where when you have that letting go and dissolving into the environment,
Yeah.
there's a point of the mind where it says, at this point, I can let go. And
Safe.
it becomes extremely, it's like the biggest shock of your life, because the mind then kicks in and says, if you let go, are you coming back? Because you're so not there. It's a completely different uh, experience of reality that is so warm, inviting, more real and true than we could ever imagine, that coming back to the body is the foreign part.
Yeah. I get, man, there's a, if he's not listening right now, there's going to be someone listening to this show. If he's not listening to it right this moment, he's going to be listening to this part right now. And I guarantee you that the hairs on the back of his neck's going to stand up. And I hope when you hear this, brother, Trev, when you hear this, you're gonna know that this is a common thing that's by experienced by a lot of people, and I hope it helps you integrate. So thank you for helping with unknowingly. Thank you for helping with his integration, because I'm sure this will help.
And like I said, it's a difficult thing, but the thing that really kicks you back is that kind of fear of death.
Yeah,
But it,
but
yeah.
yeah, once I mean, and eventually, you can lose that. And I think, this is something I've been talking a lot about lately. I have a theory that all fear is a fear of death, a subset of the fear of death. And once you lose that fear of death, everything else dissolves, and you can start really, really evolving as a being. Um, Gonna take a short break. And when we come back, I would like to get your thoughts on source and see what source means to you. Like, and how does that integrate into the ceremonies and into our life and the phenomenon. I think source is, in my mind, and the people that's read my books and stuff, they know my thoughts on source. I feel that source is a phenomenon in a sense. So I'd love to get your thoughts on that when we come back in just a moment. All right, everybody, stay with us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Fighting divine forces, yes, the forces of the sun. With gentle touch, it means so much to bring our dreams into this reality. We set each other free.
right, everybody, welcome back to the Eagles Nest podcast. That was a short break, and that little spot of that band right there, that's me playing the didge, by the way. And yeah, that's my buddy's band. He asked me to play at a local festival last year with him, and love showing that display. And this other one, the pictures, there's some pictures of the San Luis Valley right here, UFO Watchtower, and yeah, some petroglyphs and different sites I've been to. So yeah, I'd just like to share a few pictures. Shout out to River Moon Coffee, rivermoonwellness.com. Like I said, go over to our page at Sacred Journeys Within. You get promo codes for your get 20% off your first order over at our page. Also check out the store page there. We got t-shirts and hoodies and jewelry that my wife makes, and also copies of my books. And also over at Sacred Journeys Within, you can get information on upcoming shows for Eagles Nest podcast, where I'm going to be upcoming conferences I'm going to be speaking at this year. And yeah, just all around updates on what's going on. And yeah, go check us out, give us some love. And if you haven't followed Eagles Nest podcast, go over and hit the like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell so you get the notifications on upcoming shows. I got some really interesting guests coming up. So um, I mentioned a few earlier. I got also Sev Talk coming up. She's MUFON director. She's also she's going to be the heading up the MUFON symposium coming up in July, up in Denver. It's going to be, I think, 8th, 9th, and 10th, or 10th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, somewhere around there in July, the MUFON symposium. But July 10th, you guys need to find your way to Golden, Colorado, and go to the Stardust Fest. I speak at 11 a.m. there. I'm going to be the first speaker of that conference. It's a one-day conference festival in Golden, Colorado. It's called the Stardust Festival. There's going to be vendors. There's going to be tarot card readers, energy healers, and speakers starting at 11 with Drew Banky. So come and see me speak live. If you bought books, come out and I'll sign them on the spot. And also we have some books there, t-shirts, and we're having a little booth set up. So check us out there. And that night I'm going to be doing a live show. It happens to be on a Sunday. So as you know, every Sunday you got to join me for a conversation here at the Eagles Nest. Well, I'm not going to stop it just because I'm at the conference. I'm going to do a live show from Stardust Fest. I don't know exactly who we're going to be talking to, but we might have a couple guests just show up on the spot. Might have some surprise guests showing up. So stay tuned for that. Again, that's July 10th. We're going to be live from the Stardust Fest. That's just next month, guys. Oh my God, I can't believe it's already June. It's amazing. And man, I think yeah, this is episode number 10 of Eagles Nest podcast. I can't believe we've already got 10 episodes in. If you haven't checked out my past episodes, check them out with Grant Cameron was my first one. Laura Eisenhower. Me and Laura talked about her experience with ayahuasca. Go back and check that one out. That's an interesting one. Joel Lambert, Navy SEAL, healed with ayahuasca, 5-MeO-DMT, and iboga. Go check that out. Yeah, I got tons of great content in the past, and other shows, interviews I've been on. Check them out. Coast to Coast with Heidi Hollis, Dave Scott. I've been on Jimmy's show, Fade to Black, Dave Scott. I just on Dave Scott just recently. That was my last one I just did. Um, yeah, check them all out. All those links are over at Sacred Journeys Within too. There's that link again. You can go over and check those out, and we put those all in one page for you, so you go and check out all my past content I've been on, shows I've been on, and guests I've had on. So, without further ado, let's bring our guest back in and welcome Jason Quitt back to Eagles Nest Podcast. Appreciate you coming back, Jason, and staying with us for hour number 2. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
Yes, I'm
great,
here. Yes.
great. So, the ceremonies, took me to a certain place, and then I was kind of thrust into this darkness, and I was thrust into the arms of Source, and then I had to start figuring out what the universe looked like all over again. Even after I thought it, expanded to its fullest extent with ayahuasca, it just expanded into a whole nother realm again. I'm assuming since we're talking tonight, maybe you might have some of the same experiences. So, what's your understanding of Source, and have you had experiences with Source?
It's a it's a difficult conversation because there's so many ideas of what source is, and as when I grew up, it was always almost like a focal point. Like source is like a god, so you're looking at creation and you're putting your focus on that kind of godhead, like the circle with the point in the middle. You're singularly focused on source, which is like, let's say, like the point of light that gives birth to all. But as I started to grow and have experiences that I would call source experiences, it wasn't it wasn't that point of light. It was actually the expansion of everything, as in what you are experiencing. Like the entirety of your experience is source. You are source. You're in source. The physical objects you see are source. When you're out of body, your source, that field or realm or dimension you're in, that source. So it's kind of like this infinite expanding thing that is this one thing. It's like this energy that takes form of everything that you experience. So that's why it's so difficult to explain, because it's not a singular thing. Like, we think of the Big Bang as like a source, a Big Bang is the source, where it was just this point that exploded outward and expanded. And I would say, what did it expand into? you know, and
Back
what
into itself.
Right. It's like you can't really answer that instead of experiencing it. And there has been a couple experiences, and I tell the story a lot. It's this fire experience that I had. I tell this story a lot, but
I think we just became best friends. Like, I really do. Like, once you mentioned fire, I think that was it, man.
okay. So, anyways, there was one night in my journey where I was dealing with entities, right? So, entities would come at me at night and try to pull me out of my body or suffocate me, or, the fun stuff of spiritual experiences, the entities. And one night this thing came into my room that it was just so dark and so heavy that when it entered the room, it was like those horror movies where it's just like the light just disappears. And so this darkness just overtook the room. And as the darkness came on my body, it was like it was suffocating me. It was crushing me, like a truck just drove up on my body. And in my mind, I'm just screaming like, I can't really do anything. I can't fight this thing. It's too strong. So I thought, okay, this is my end. I'm going to die. This is it. And in my shamanic training, the shaman who taught me said that when you die, what you do is you go into your body and focus within there's a chamber in your heart which holds the great fire. He said every person has this flame within their heart, like a candle flame, and that is a piece of source, piece of creation that is you and is creation. So return back to source. That was what I remember. And so I kind of gave up on this entity because I couldn't breathe and I couldn't fight it. So I went in to the heart and I found that fire. And right when I saw that fire or experienced that fire, the fire exploded. And when I said exploded, it was like fire just exploded out of my body in every single direction, like a nuclear bomb just went off. And that fire went everywhere, like way out into the cosmos. And I became this fire where at that specific moment in time when I was that fire, it was like I could touch everything of creation. It was like I was creation. And the only thought that could generate in Jason's mind was, this is what it's like to be a god. You know, that was like kind of the thought that came at me at the time. And it's like, for me, it was like I was part of source, like, because what my shaman said is that fire is within us. And when I became that fire expanded into and reached and touched everything in creation.
Wow.
And I was it. And I experienced it. And then the fire just got sucked right back into my heart. And I woke up, and whatever was in that room with me, this was no longer in that room with me. You know, I must have blasted it into infinity, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So that, I would say, that was the closest experience I could comprehend, where I would say that was my moment of touching or getting a glimpse of what source is.
So Ram Dass talks. I heard a Ram Dass speech, and it's actually on a Dirt Wire track. So Dirt Wire's a band. I don't know if you heard them. If you haven't heard them, you should look them out. They're a great band, brother. You would love them. But they it's a Ram Dass speech that's on one of their tracks, and he talks about how he is in the Mid America Hotel in Kansas, and he took way more LSD. He accidentally overdosed on LSD, and he thought he was dying. And he put a picture of his guru on the TV and muted the TV, but it looked like he had the picture of his guru in the middle. So everything that was going on TV, it looked like it was coming out of his head. And he asked permission to die, and so his breath was slowing down, and he went into the time in between two thoughts, and he reached a timeless space, and he had his oneness moment. It made it made the hair on my neck stand up, because it's just, I never heard articulated like that, you know. And um but you know, he also talks about the drop becoming the ocean. I've definitely experienced that, and I even had, my experience was I consciously gave up form because I thought I was going to save everything, and then I realized everything was already in divine order. Like, that's where the first book comes from. I'm perfect and so are you, and then the whole book come out of it. But yeah, I had to come back because it was really boring in that space, and because there was nothing to do but to observe. And I realized that, you know, that what we're doing here is experiencing source, and seeing if we can. I guess I coined a new phrase when I was speaking to Grant Cameron. I called the trifecta of existence that we're experiencing now in our evolutionary path. It's the oneness, but still being on two legs, and it's the balance between that two. I think that's where we're at and supposed to be striving to right now. What's your feelings on that?
I would say, and you know, this goes back to Osiris. I believe, or the only way I could describe it, you know, is we are, call it slumbering gods. So when we're when we're physically living on this earth, our spirit is dead. Okay? You know, just kind of explaining it in certain terms. And then when you die and you make the transition, your spirit awakens. All right? So your spirit is now awakened and travels. So it's almost like And if we could use the analogy of Osiris, he's in the underworld, he's dead.
I love using an analogy of Osiris.
Okay. And his legs, if you look at the picture of Osiris, his legs are mummified. His legs are dead. But really, his legs are walking on earth, and we're his legs. So as Osiris sleeps in the underworld, we walk the earth to experience and build the experience for this grander source. And as we pass, we take that experience and grow spiritually to it's like the fire, the torchbearer. It's through each incarnation, through each experience, that fire grows. And so when you return back to the other side, it's almost like you are bringing new energy to that side. You're bringing new energy to your spirit, to your evolution as a spirit. And you pass that on to the spiritual world. And in return, more life is grown here. And it's very similar to, if I could use a symbol as the Ouroboros, the snake. It's the self-cannibalizing type of energy where to have a system of night and day, life and death, it has to be constantly cycling through of consumption. So as we're growing and building, we have to also release. There has to be that yin and yang process. So I don't know where I'm going, but I lost it.
It's all right. It's all right. I wanna so we got Pat. He's always active in the chat room.
Yeah.
But he says when we're here, we are dead, and when we're away from source, and we're away from source. When we die, we rejoin source, and we become live again. I would challenge that because I think there's a lot of us that are rejoining source while we're still alive, and I think this is something very profound happening in our lifetime. I think I know myself. I'm definitely experiencing having the eyes of source and Drew at the same time. Are you experiencing anything like that now, or
That is the purpose of initiation. The purpose of initiation, in my experience, or the way I see things, is that it's the second birth. It's the baptism, where you experience death and you experience the awakening of the spirit. You experience the connecting to source again while you're living, and you maintain that connection, and it becomes your teacher or your guide. So it's almost like, how do I say this? We walk the earth like a zombie. We walk the earth unconscious until we have this awakening moment, this resurrection of the living spirit within us, to experience source, to experience a truer, grander reality. And it's almost like now you walk with spirit in the physical awakened. And I believe that is, what people would call ascension or the awakening. I believe that's the true definition, is just becoming aware of that that truth that's within you. Yeah.
Totally agree. Just to clarify, totally agree. But there has been secret societies, and this is part of the interviews I start to get technical difficulties somewhere around when I start talking about this kind of stuff. But especially here in the U.S., Europe and Canada, but down here in the U.S., it's we're started off very young in this cult system where we raise our hand every morning, we pledge allegiance to a piece of cloth, and eventually that becomes our truth, and then we're stuck in this box, and then our manifestation energy is mined by the system. And you know, I none of this really Source told me this. Like, this is when it first started. Source like unraveled this for me, and it started off. So I started channeling Osiris. Then I was channeling Osiris for a while after, a few weeks, months after that, and then all of a sudden it just all dissolved, and it was just Source. And then I wasn't channeling anymore. It was just a direct connection. But this is the first channeling from Source. It said, I am the source of all creation. You are the creator through the power of manifestation. Step back into your power to facilitate the upcoming evolutionary shift. And I, that's when I'm a veteran. I got a flag tattooed on my arm. I was so deep in it. But, this is by no accident. This is a big lesson in my life, of indoctrination. And it's also reminds me of where I was, and to keep my power, like, and use it for my family and helping humanity, and manifesting my own reality how I see fit. Yeah, that's just like what's going like in Canada. Like, how do they mine your manifestation up there? Like, is it, I know there's some type of cult thing that you guys say the national anthem up there. Like, is it similar to the States?
Um, it is similar. They play "O Canada" on the
Yeah,
announcements
yeah.
in school growing up. But where I grew up, it was more of a multicultural area, and I didn't really know anybody that went into the military. So, and in Canada, which is very strange, is our TVs were mostly U.S. channels. So we grew up on CNN and all the American stuff. So I knew all the presidents. I knew the senators and the people in Congress. So it's like I knew more about the U.S. than Canada, and I
Yeah.
really believe that was done on purpose
Hmm.
because we were so distracted with the drama in the US from Canada that we weren't looking at what our government was doing, And now that I'm older and I follow Canadian politics, the mind control is strong here. That's all I
it's
can say. Yeah.
it's hard not to see it. Once you see it, man, it's it's just something that it is. You can get away from it, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's just, and call it conspiracy theorists or whatever you want, but it's real. Like, Dr. Emoto had proved that water reacts to frequency of vibration, both positive and negative.
Mhm.
And we're 80% water. That means that same study that Dr. Emoto did holds true for our own glass of water as well, and it can be manipulated through frequency and vibration. That's why I subs- I prescribe people, after ceremony, or even if people call and say maybe the ceremony's not right for them, using binaural beats at night and doing different things to hack your body. You can hack your own system. And we have a right to do that. We don't have to subject ourselves to this paradox anymore. We can step outside it.
And water is actually one of the most powerful um, realigners in this, a purifier. And if you there's something about water. Basically, you're a walking piece of water, you know. And then when you go into, let's say, a stream or a lake or an ocean, energetically, you become that water. All right. So you submerge yourself in that water. And because of the nature of water, your energy field then becomes the water, the nature of that flowing water. And this is why there's the sacred baths and the sacred cleansing rituals of going into water, especially when someone is carrying something that's hurting them, or memories or traumas,
Mm.
they go into the water. It's like going back into the womb, the salt water of the mother. And when you enter the sacred streams or the sacred pools, your energy field takes on the energy field of the water. And this is why you feel so rejuvenated, so cleansed, because it repatterns you. But then, your mind is so powerful. The moment you step back out into the real world, your mind is going to start to reprogram the water in your body. So you have to kind of learn how to hold that frequency from that natural source.
I love it. I just got back from the hot springs, actually. In between our last guest leaving and this podcast, we took off and spent a couple hours at the hot springs down the road. That's a ritual that we've been doing for years after ceremony to just kind of in the ceremony, let our body know that we're in ceremony, we're cleansing and restarting, back into whatever. That being said, I got peyote meeting coming up on this Friday, so already starting to get ready for that. Yeah, ceremony season's interesting. I can't wait for you to come down and visit, man. It's gonna be awesome for sure. So, have you ever had experience with peyote? Oh, I'm sorry, man. There's so many. This bring up so many questions now that we're getting down to the end. So, um, you said you had experiences with Native American tribes. So, what and I'm assuming it's the same. What do they say the water is? What is water to them?
Water is basically emotion. It's memory.
What I was particularly looking for, the tribes
Yeah.
down here, Lakota tribes and Snabe, they all talk about how water was the first medicine. So, and especially if you work with ayahuasca or any of these medicines, making psilocybin tea, you start to understand that you can charge water. And even drinking coffee, like I do it all the time, like as I'm drinking it, like understanding like there's codes even in this coffee that's in this cup right now. It may be coffee, but there's water that made the coffee, and there's codes that could be a T-Rex code, or could be my great aunt or great grandma or something's part, a molecule of something is in there. But also you can charge it with your intention.
Yes. And I I only drink one water. And the water I drink, I have to drive like 30 minutes from my house, pack my car with jugs, and there's a natural spring that comes out of the ground. And you just take a swig of that right from the ground, and it's like your body it's like radiant heat comes off your skin. Do you know what I mean? You
I get
drink
it.
that water and just energy,
Yeah,
because the
we
water
get
we
our drink.
drink. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I'm
I was
sorry.
just saying the water that we drink from a city is just poison. It's just dead and poison.
Well, it has so much energy, just so many noises and
Yeah,
energy involved around it, and intentions, and just all kinds of stuff, man. But we get our drinking water from a artesian well that's been flowing for 108 years.
great.
So that's yeah, and it's just weird, like once you start to get in this vibration, it seems like the earth just provides a place within a reasonable distance for you to really really connect deeper like that, like yeah, it's just amazing.
Well, you've heard of the stories, of the shaman curing people um, with these sacred medicines. And the story that I was told, and this is a long time ago, so I don't remember where it came from, but the story was it was a doctor who had this condition that couldn't be healed. And he went down to the rainforest to see a shaman, and the shaman would go and give him this bottle and says, take this home and just take a couple drops under your tongue, and you'll be cured within the month. And anyways, he did become cured, and he comes back to the rainforest, and he asks the shaman for some more of the medicine, and the shaman goes and then comes back and gives him the same stuff. And this guy, he was part of the establishment. He thought he could take it to a lab and figure out what it is, and he's going to become a millionaire, right? He can find the secret of what he was given. And when they analyzed it, it was just water. So when he confronted the shaman and said, "How did you do this? This was just water. There's nothing in it." It was just, how shamans are. They just kind of give you that little smile because obviously you don't know nothing. Like, you don't know anything. If you think that this is just water, water is so much more than just water. And that is the thing with water, is water can take any form. You can say, I'm going to place water in a vessel. It becomes the vessel, right? The shape of the vessel. But if you put an intention or an energy or even a medicine in that water, the water becomes that medicine, that vibration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's why
in the peyote church, the peyote ceremony is very structured, a lot more structured than ayahuasca. It's everything has a step and a direction and all this. A certain point in it, there's in the middle of the night around midnight, it's all night ceremony. And around midnight, there's what they call the midnight water prayer. So they bring out water, and people that are officers of the peyote ceremony, they normally get to pray. So they were passing around the tobacco, and they come to me and they're like, "Hey Drew, would you say a prayer for the water?" And I was like, I'm like blasted on peyote, like I'm totally in line and balanced with the one. And I get the tobacco, I take one hit, and I'm trying to think like what to say. And the first thing that comes out, I'm like, we're tricking ourselves to pray to ourselves. Like, really, when we pray to water, like, and I just go down this whole rabbit hole of water is oneness, and we're tricking all these prayers. We're tricking ourselves I had this huge epiphany of the ceremony itself in the wrong setting, just in the wrong setting, I should have just dialed it down a little bit in that moment, in retrospect, but I still get invited back, but it's been a while since this is like this coming ceremony is the first time I got invited back to that fire again. But yeah, it's
why not though? I mean,
well, you want to keep the peyote ritual. All depends on you praying to water and still having that separation. When you meld the separation, you're kind of doing something outside the peyote ceremony, really. But
okay,
and I guess some people were in there weren't ready for that, like that realization. But it's water, man. That's what I talk about a lot. Dr. Emoto was a big epiphany for me, and epiphany for me on how to heal, or and help others heal, I should say. Whatever, however you want to put that. But
I had a great opportunity. When I was in Japan, I went over to Emoto's, or Dr. Emoto's office. It's in like a small office building where he does his experiments, and he publishes his books. And obviously he's no longer with us, so his son has taken over. And at the time, he handed over the scientific experiments to a gentleman by the name of Dr. Nemoto, which is really interesting. The name is so similar, but it's two different people. But no, his experiments are very interesting. And I saw the way they do the experiment and how they freeze it, and how, they have the microscopes in these little rooms that are a sub-degree temperature, so they can actually witness the crystallization. And as it's crystallizing, they're snapping the photos. So it's very interesting, very interesting.
So what is us moving forward? What does crystal mean to our future in this evolutionary process?
Well, crystals. You mean crystals, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I would say, how do I describe a crystal? You know how our Earth is an electromagnetic dynamo, basically. So we're in an electromagnetic field, and everything, including us, is dependent on this electromagnetic field. I would say that crystals are like the neurotransmitters of the Earth's electromagnetic field. Just like how we have neurotransmitters transferring electrical information in our brains, these are the neurons of the Earth in different forms, especially quartz, which is piezoelectric. It has very special electrical properties. It's vibrating. What is it? About 30, off the top of my head, I can't remember, around 30,000 hertz, basically. So these things are always vibrating. They're always in the electromagnetic field of the Earth. And by holding a crystal and tuning in, putting your consciousness and mind into the crystal, what you're doing is you're tuning into the actual field or the mind of the Earth, which extends into the universe. And just like a radio, a crystal radio receiver and amplifier, you're taking in subtle vibrations of electromagnetic force into the body and amplifying it. So it's almost like you're tapping in and receiving information using crystals. So crystals have an amazing potential for spiritual growth or different type of medicine. And I love meditating with crystals. So, I'll hold crystals while I meditate, and it helps expand the mind and get you into that place a lot more quickly and stronger. And also, because I would consider myself like an energy sensitive, and all that means is that when I start to meditate, I could feel things moving in my body. I feel like pain or whatever you feel in the body. And then what I can do is I can put the crystal on the point where I feel that discomfort.
Yeah.
And I could breathe into that point and I could release it. So it's like you're doing your own ceremony with crystals.
Yeah. I've had the experience where I was reached in my pocket to grab my phone because I thought my phone was in my pocket, and it was actually my root chakra vibrating. Like, it was that intense. Like, it felt. Have you ever had that experience?
I have, and I'm just saying to play devil's advocate.
It's very weird.
There was a phenomenon because you know that like cell phones, for example, or the old cell phones, they would do a ping to the towers every I think it was every 9 seconds or 10 seconds, there would be a ping back to find where the towers are. So it sends out a big radiation or a microwave burst, the phones. And when you're having it in your pocket, even though you can't feel it, you're getting these electromagnetic bursts of energy. And over time, your body becomes almost like addicted to it. So when you leave your phone out of your pocket, sometimes you get these, they call them like phantom rings.
Wow.
Because the body is like expecting a burst of energy and it's not there. So it gives like another
That's
burst.
crazy. So it's actually picking up like an actual signal from the tower?
Could be, or your body is just maybe replicating a pattern that it's getting used to.
Wow, this is I don't get surprised very often. This is something different. Yeah, that's something different. I've never heard that. Getting back to the crystals, as far as our form, our physical form, going from carbon to crystal, what's your thoughts on that? And also, I just saw a new theory the other day, which was very very eye opening to me. It talks about the 144,000. Um, I heard a new theory that is gonna be our new DNA structure.
Hmm.
144, going from 22,000 or something like that. I don't know. It's gonna, but going. I know that we're moving from a crystal, from a carbon to a crystalline form, so we can take on higher consciousness. And I definitely believe that's why there's a lot of rock-ons out there. And yeah, what's your thoughts on all that? And the 144,000? Do you think there's any validity in that?
Um, I would say that 144,000 has always been a sacred number.
Mhm.
And I believe that it is a multiplication of hexagonal structures or crystalline structures following the expansion of the flower of life. You can get to the number of 144,000. So for me, that number is a harmonic of geometry, of a complex vibration, or a vibration of form that naturally occurs um, in form, in physical geometry. So when I hear 144,000 individuals, or let's say the light workers or people that are ascending, I put that more towards ideology than
Uh-huh.
actual what it is,
Yeah,
because
I, I
absolutely.
I totally agree. Because one thing that was showed to me, like there's hierarchy needs to dissolve for us to move forward. Like in your mind and your being and in all of reality, there is no hierarchy once you understand oneness. Like that all dissolves. So the 144,000 light workers never resonated with me, because that means that there's other people that is below
Yeah.
those light workers. So I really love this idea of our genetic code, um, growing and being more complex to take on a higher consciousness. And I really think we're on the same page on that.
I think that that has to happen, and calling it a crystallized form, or going from carbon to crystal, is could be a way of explaining it, but it's the same thing as like going on a journey. The chemistry of your body changes.
Mhm.
Okay, if you look under a very powerful microscope, obviously, and you see the actual structure of the chemistry, those are tiny crystals.
Mhm.
So those tiny crystals are now going into the body and going to the receptors. So that it's like a crystal chemistry turns the key to open the door, and suddenly you're on another wavelength or vibration to access this information or these worlds. So in a sense, absolutely. And when they measure the chemistry of the blood of, let's say, a guru who lives meditating in a cave in the mountains, he's naturally producing DMT in his blood.
Mhm.
He's not taking anything. So the body itself, I don't want to say the body itself can shift and create a plethora of chemistry that can run through your body. So even without the plant medicines, you become the medicine,
Yeah,
and you go on
absolutely.
journeys.
Absolutely. Here's a man. This question just come up.
Yeah.
What if someone has done? I've done 5-MeO one time with Yopo. Never done the frog. Like never felt the need to do that.
Mhm.
But I wonder this is just a theory of mine that just come up. What if you have done 5-MeO? Moving forward, do you think your body has the codes to make a 5-MeO experience again? Like
First of all, your body produces that every single night you go to sleep.
the four, well,
Oh,
for it,
I
the four.
well, I know DMT. I don't know the exact chemistry, but
The 5-MeO DMT is the Bufo various
from the
and
frog.
Yopo.
Yeah.
So those are both. And there's, I could tell you my experience with Yopo was there was no psychedelic. It was extremely alien, and it was extreme. I went way past anything I've ever been to before, and like
I've
was
never
told
done it. Yeah.
it's very extreme. So the you've heard of Bufo various, I'm sure. It's so that's 5-MeO DMT. That's my understanding. We make 4-MeO DMT
Okay.
when we sleep. This is a different frequency than the DMT that you're the
Okay.
DMT with ayahuasca that you've experienced. It's a totally different animal.
Well,
Um,
damn. What I would say is that I don't know if the body. Well, first of all, the body does have. If the body has a receptor, it has some way of receiving it.
mhm.
So
Interesting
either
point. That's yeah, that gets me thinking.
either you could create it um, within certain states, um, but again, it goes back to this whole thing with the symbiotic relationship with the world, the environment, and how we grew.
Hmm.
So somewhere in our past, we were ingesting this,
Hmm.
or producing it ourselves.
Hmm.
Somewhere in our past, we have that ability to digest it.
Yeah,
Um, and
yeah.
it's kind of like the Super Mario theory. He's like chasing the mushrooms to get bigger or the stars to go. It's like you have to take in this magical formula to get to the next level. And this is it's also the stoned ape theory type of thing where
Hmm.
um, and it's very interesting going back to the endocannabinoid system. It affects your immune system. It affects your fertility. It changes the nature of your mind. So it's like in the past, could the symbiotic relationship be consciousness? Will it evolve us in a way where we think differently? Maybe we developed language and speaking from taking one of these things, and because it helped us survive, because everything is about survival. So it
Yeah.
helped us get to another level of survival where now we have an advantage. That advantage now is genetically programmed within us, and we pass on that genetic material. And the people that don't have it, they kind of fizzle out. They don't survive like you.
Hmm.
So we, as a species, we could be the result of ingesting multiple things that have kind of given us evolutionary advantages in the world.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely resonate with that. I kind of see like the evolutionary shift as this line of vibration that's moving forward, and we're kind of each individual we're trying to stay ahead of that line. And I've seen it. I've seen that line engulf people, and even in my family, I've seen that line engulf people, and it's a big hard lesson to accept that and to see and still see that from a spiritual stance.
But you have to
Um,
remember something, and this is where it really gets kind of funky, is that um, shamans will tell you that the plant spoke to them.
mhm.
So they didn't know about the plant. They didn't know about the medicine. But somewhere along the line, the plant came into a dream and said, I need you to take me. I need you to prepare me this way. I need you to ingest it. And
Chonga did that to me exactly. It to the T. The other was from stumble upon ayahuasca was my own healing. Just trying to find relief from PTSD, and just got really surprised about a lot of things really quickly, and then then my third ceremony, I was shown that I was going to be a translator, um, for energy.
So
So,
it's almost like there's this kind of hidden hand, is the
mhm.
only way I could describe it. It's a hidden hand of consciousness that sees you moving or a species evolving through time, and they say, this person is ready, talk to them. And the person will listen and it will change the world. It's the same thing, like, you were talking about Nikola Tesla before. Um, the inventions that changed modern society came to him in visions and dreams. So what was it, the time in our history where the hidden hand, the consciousness says, it is time to move this species in a new direction of experience. And Tesla is the person who came here to do that. So we're going to show him that invention, and the world will now go on a new path.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing with these plant medicines, talking to people.
It's man, if it's a lot, it's a lot of people. I I talk a lot about I met 1,000 Jesuses. This is like one of my lecture topics. I've met 1,000 Jesuses. I thought I was Jesus for a little while, and then I melt together the whole thing and understand the source understanding of it and how Jesus. I am still tapping into a Jesus experience to put together the soup of Drew in the current moment, and that's
Mhm.
kind of how I see it. Um, yeah. So what's Jason's future about? We're closing out here. Got about 7 minutes left.
Mhm.
Where we're definitely going to have to find Jason back on Eagles Nest podcast someday, real soon, to continue this because we got a lot. We still got a lot to unpack, but we're just running out of time at the moment. But where can we find Jason? Where can we find your books? If you can give us any teasers on upcoming books, I know you're doing some writing right now. And what's your message for humanity?
Hmm. Well, right now I'm putting together the second version of this, Egyptian postures. So it'll be, this one is about salute to the sun, and the next one is going to be salute to the moon, which is all about um, life after death, reincarnation, more the mystical side of spirituality. So hopefully I can get that done over the summer. Um, my message, geez. I think that we need to look, honestly, I think we need to kind of look inward
Mm.
and not be pulled into, and, I fall in this trap all the time because I do watch politics. I do watch what's going on a world stage, and I'm yelling at the computer screen, I'm that
Yeah.
guy. But it's, there's so much more to reality. And it's almost like we get sucked into these nets that hold us and trap us. And we need to learn how to disconnect from these things, because where we put our mind, we put our energy. And this is the biggest lesson. And I have to learn this too. Okay. And so if I'm putting my mind into the negative things of politics, my chi, my source, my energy is feeding that. It's making that more powerful. So I have to, catch myself, refocus my energy and say, no, my singular focus is the book. I'm going to put my life force and energy into the book or my research, or I'm going to put my life force and energy into a garden or my house or something that gives me something back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we all fall into that trap. So I would say we need to refocus our energy on what will support us. And by supporting us, we support the larger community. And I think that's what it's about.
I love it, man. I love it. What I'm preaching a lot about right now is being in the moment. We have a set amount of manifestation energy, and wherever our mind is, that's where it's going to manifest. So if we're in the current moment, we're going to manifest our current reality, and or manifest our memories or our future, which is both of those. Well, one is in the past, and the other one, there's too many variables to even put much credence into. So put your mind in the moment. That's a big lesson my son's been teaching me lately. He's an amazing medicine man already, and not even 5 months yet, and just teaching me so many lessons. But it's been
I
go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, being a father is, you know, that is quite the journey. That's all I'll say to you. I'm not a father, but I know that that's quite a journey. So enjoy that. Enjoy every second of that.
Well, this is my second time around. My oldest is about to be 19, so this is.
Wow.
And when you talked about, the medicine can change fertility, it definitely made a miracle happen, because this wasn't supposed to be able to happen at all. So
Beautiful.
yeah, it's definitely a spiritual experience. But it's been an honor having you on. I'm so glad we finally got to connect. As expected, it is definitely a soul connection, remembrance of some type of relationship in the past, friendship, brother. Thank you so much, Jason, for coming on. It's
Thank you.
been my honor and pleasure. And hang around, and we're going to talk in just a moment. Jason Quitt, everybody. Go check out his book. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining in for another Sunday, 2 hours of getting deep into it on the Eagles Nest podcast. That is my good friend Jason Quitt. Yeah, obviously a lot of soul connection there. And we're going to have him on real soon again. Have to. And as we get more into it. Yeah, but big props out to him. Thank you, Jason, for being here. Coming up, we got Kevin Day coming up in the lineup. We got Ruben Langdon coming up in the lineup. In July, we got Charles Pate from Florida. He heads up a ketamine treatment center that we support when we're in Florida by doing combo ceremonies from time to time. But yeah, he's going to be on sharing his experience of spearheading his ketamine treatment place there in Florida and where it's going. He's creating huge waves in the consciousness field and healing. We got Sev Talk coming up again. Let's see, she'll be coming up at the end of June. So, or yeah, I don't remember exactly when she's coming up. I don't have the schedule right in front of me. Forgive me, guys. I will have the schedule next time. Promise you. I might post it on the website. Our schedule of upcoming guests. Yeah, and if you haven't checked out our past episodes, go ahead and give them a browse. See some of the people we've had on in the past. Dave Scott, Billy Carson, Laura Eisenhower, Grant Cameron, True Seeker from True Seekers podcast. Yeah, and go check them out. I know I'm missing some names in there. Brett Lauder, good friend of mine, author, talking about Bigfoot. Go and check them out, like them. I'm committed to bringing you guys cutting edge guests where we're going to talk about consciousness. We're going to talk about Egypt just about every episode. It seems like we're going to talk about psychedelics a lot, and I'm committed to bringing you real, raw information. So please, give me a like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you got a notification every time when we come up. You can pretty much count on every Sunday evening we're gonna have a guest on, and I'm gonna have pop up podcasts and bringing you more and more content as the time goes on. So yeah, check us out. Check us out over at Sacred Journeys Within. .com. That's our church's website, our 501c3 plant medicine church here in Southern Colorado, doing ceremonies with ayahuasca, San Pedro. changa combo, and we also have equine therapy. We have 2 horses here where we integrate them into the healing process as well, and show people the connection, the intuitive connection that horses have. Yeah, it's all about a paradigm shift, guys, and that's what our medicine church about, and this is what this podcast is about. So please show support in any way that you can. I appreciate you tuning in, and catch you guys next Sunday. Shout out to Jason Quitt, and yeah, we're having him on real soon, guys. Check us out next week.